Yeah, if we can get Mr. Morales, Leonard Morales in, that would be useful. He's got a handful. All right, good afternoon. This is Judge Alyssa Perez presiding over the 210th District Court criminal docket for April 19th, 2022. All matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all emergency orders and directives regarding COVID-19. In addition to that, we are streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. Mr. Marufo, would you call our next case, please?
In cause number 2019-0D04520, State of Texas versus Michael Efren Contreras. Announcement of counsel, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
And Myrna Pages for Mr. Michael Contreras.
And Mr. Contreras is appearing from the jail annex. We are scheduled for both a bond hearing and probation status hearing. Ms. Pages, you may proceed on your bond hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. So Judge, I don't believe he has a bond. He was picked up on a probation violation on an offense that allegedly took place back in December 15th of 2021. It was an assault family violence case. He is on 4 years deferred probation, Judge, and so that Ms. King is aware as well as the court, it does look like we should be able to obtain a non-pros. There is an ongoing custody battle between Mr. Contreras and the mother of his child, and so it's kind of complicating things, Judge. But Mr. Contreras, Your Honor, I believe can afford about $500. If this court does release him, he would be working with his father, doing construction and rock walls. He would also be residing with his mother, Mrs. Contreras. Your Honor, my client does suffer from anxiety. He indicated to me that he's been diagnosed with anxiety and has suffered from panic attacks. And just to be forthcoming with the court, Judge, he did pick up back on March 31st of this year, a failure to ID. So I just want to make sure that I'm forthcoming with the court, because I don't think that that was the initial reason why he was picked up. But he did panic, Judge, when he was arrested, and he did pick up a failure to ID. We are requesting for a bond, Judge, since he's on deferred, and Mr. Contreras would very much like to remain on probation. I think that the state did file a motion to adjudicate. I haven't received a copy of that, and I have not discussed it with Ms. King, but my client would like to remain on probation, Judge.
All right, Ms. King.
Yes, Your Honor. So the state actually respectfully opposes the bond based on criminal history and the recent motion to revoke the probation case. We have a 2015 conviction for burglary of a vehicle, possession of marijuana less than 2 ounces, and possession PG Group 3 conviction. 2016, we have 2 counts of terroristic threat. A conviction. 2019, we have theft of property, and he was placed on deferred. 2019, we also have a amended probation for an assault causes bodily injury. 2020, we do have a possession PG Group, I believe 1, less than 1 gram. And there is also a pending assault family violence, and date of offense is December 15, 2021. And I have requested for that case to come in.
So that one hasn't been filed yet, the December 21 AFE?
Not yet.
Let me ask probation, Carla, if you're there. I don't know if you have this case. I had a notation here that on his probation case that there was about almost $4,000 in restitution, or $3,800, I think is what I have notated. Is that still outstanding as well?
Yes, Your Honor. That has not been touched at actually since he was placed on probation back on September 29, 2020.
Is he under any kind of mental health caseload?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Pages, is he receiving any kind of treatment? Was he receiving any kind of treatment? And if so, is he receiving any in jail?
He has been to UBH, Judge, is what's my understanding. And let me look really quick at my system. I do believe he is taking medication while in custody. And it is documented that he does have mental health, Judge.
Carla, what's the recommendation from probation? I know I had summaries, but I don't believe I looked at his summary.
Recommendation is to be screened for domestic violence caseload. And I'm basing that off of the pending assault family violence charge, alleged charge.
Mhm.
Your Honor, if I may.
Oh.
On the state motion to revoke or to adjudicate guilt, actually one of the violations was that the defendant failed to report during the months of November 2021 to supervision officer. So he does have the history of not showing up.
Was that just for that 1 month, Ms.
It was
King?
just 1 month.
Okay.
That's the
That's
most recent.
Alleged.
And if I may add to the court, so I'm seeing, so it was November 2021, December 2021 of non-reporting, and then he gets arrested during the month of December. I apologize, he reported after in December, sorry, hold on. And then he fails to report January, February, and March 2022.
And he's only been in custody for 14 days, right? So
Yes, and then he picked up the
failure to ID.
ID.
That's how we get him, right? We had the bench warrant and then we get him because he picked up a failure to ID.
Yes, Your Honor.
Not sure. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Have you been in well, no, that's a different victim. Well, he's entitled to a bond because he's on deferred. And you don't have the AFV yet, right, Ms. King? That's what you told me.
No, you're
Okay. All right. So he's entitled to a bond. It's going to be a 40,000 straight cash surety bond. Does he have future settings?
I don't believe he does, Judge. I don't see any on my end.
Okay, so let's do, we'll do a probation status hearing in 2 weeks. 2 weeks after that, we'll have a pre-revo. 2 weeks after that, we'll have a revo. I think really what I'm wanting to see is what your office is gonna do, Ms. King, with that assault family violence. It looks like, I guess we'll have the failure to ID coming up too, but yeah. To the extent, Ms. Pages, you can, I'm trying to think of what best plan going forward. If there's a mental health component, if there's some information you can provide, obviously, if we end up looking at keeping him on probation, I'll be focused on that. So I will want to know a little bit more of what his needs are. Certainly there's a domestic violence angle here. I think, that classes or some type of attention to that won't hurt. But anyways, that's what his bond will be, 40,000 cash surety.
Thank you, Your Honor. And does the state have a rec at this point or not yet?
Not yet. I'm waiting for
Okay.
the 2 cases to be screened.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Judge. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. King, is that AFV in your office? Is it an intake or is it pending with law enforcement?
I believe it is with intake, so we just have to screen.
Okay, so we need, yeah, that should be pretty quick. All right. Alrighty, thank you so much. Ms. Pages,
Thank
is that
you.
the only one you have?
That's the only one, Judge.
Okay, take care. Thank you, Mr. Contreras.
Bye-bye.
Who's next?
Back on page 6, Judge, at the bottom, Aguirre Santiago.
Let's take care of that one. And I see Mr. Perez is logging in. We need to make sure someone from Wyatt Underwood is here.
Yes, Judge.
Mhm. Mr. Aguirre, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I can kind of barely hear you. So as we do the plea, if you'll just speak loudly. please, and we should be okay. Mr. Rago, are you ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Mr. Manufo?
In cause number 2021-0D01120, State of Texas versus Santiago Aguirre, announcement of counsel, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
Frago, on behalf of Ms.
Oh, we kind of lost your audio, Mr. Rago. Mr. Rago, do you see your client appearing from the jail annex?
I do, Your Honor.
Mr. Aguirre, I'm going to be asking you some questions regarding your plea today, so I need to swear you in. If you would please raise your right hand. Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. I can hear you just fine, and you can put your hand down, sir. Thank you. Would you state your name for the record?
Santiago Aguirre.
Mr. Aguirre, as I mentioned, we're scheduled for a plea in this case today. So there should have been documents you reviewed with your attorney. I'm going to be asking you questions about those documents. The first of which is marked as State's Exhibit number 1. Those are the plea papers in this case. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Aguirre, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1 with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand everything contained within that document?
I did. Yes.
Mr. Rago, have you had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
We have, Your Honor.
And did you explain the plea papers to your client?
I did, Your Honor.
You believe he has understood the admonishments, rights, and consequences of giving up these rights by entering a plea today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Aguirre, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you?
I am, Judge.
Mr. Rago, do you have any reason to believe your client is not presently competent to enter a plea?
No, Your Honor, not at all.
Mr. Aguirre, have you ever been found incompetent by any court?
No, ma'am.
Ever been examined by a doctor or psychiatrist who has found you mentally ill?
No.
Okay, you're not experiencing any mental health conditions, whether they've been diagnosed or not, that prevent you from understanding what we're doing today?
No.
You've been able to effectively communicate with your attorney regarding everything in this case, including your plea?
I have.
Okay. So based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea. Sir, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you born?
El Paso, Texas.
Okay. So in this case, you are charged with the offense of assault, family violence with a previous conviction, which is a 3rd-degree felony. To that charge, sir, what is your plea, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you making your plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to find you are making your plea freely and voluntarily. Ms. King, would you summarize the evidence, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Were the state to proceed to trial on the indictment, the state would have proven each and every element, the offense charged, an assault family household member, beyond a reasonable doubt. Judge, the defendant is pleading to 5 years on TDC with family violence findings and other terms and conditions stated on the state's plea paperwork. And at this time, the state moves to admit Exhibit 1 is the state's plea paperwork, Exhibit 2, Article 3914 disclosures, and Exhibit 3 is the indictment.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
That objection states Exhibits 1, 2, and 3 are admitted. Mr. Rago, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
It is, Your Honor.
And Mr. Aguirre, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is the 1-page document entitled The Trial Court Certification of Your Right to Appeal. It is a document that explains your appeal rights. Because this is a plea, bargained, or negotiated case, you do not have an automatic right of appeal. Mr. Aguirre, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So on your plea of guilty and the evidence introduced, I will accept your plea and at this time find the evidence substantiates your guilt. I will find you guilty of the offense of assault, family violence with a previous conviction, and I will sentence you according to the plea agreement to 5 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. You will receive credit for any and all time that you have served. There is also an affirmative finding of family violence in this case. Is there anything else, Mr. Rago or Ms. King?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Aguirre. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, sir. Take care. Who's next?
Thank you.
Up on page 8, Sonia Rascon Annex.
Okay.
Yes, she'll be right out.
Hey, Mr. Anchondo.
Judge. Good afternoon, Judge.
Is that Ms. Rascon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started.
In cause number 2020-0D01029 and 2021-0D02600, State of Texas versus Sonia Veronica Rascon. Announcement of council, please.
Roa King subbing in for ADA Samantha Rago for the state.
Christopher Anchondo on behalf of Daniel Anchondo, representing Sonia Rascon.
Okay, and we're scheduled today for a motion to withdraw. I did review Mr. Anchondo, the motion. What is the crux of the issue here? And I guess maybe my question is for Ms. Rascon. Ms. Rascon, are you intending to hire another attorney? You no longer want Mr. Anchondo to represent you?
Yes, ma'am. Well, maybe another public defender, because I really don't know much about Anchondo.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you. Can you speak up? There's some background noise.
I'd like to, another public defender if possible.
Why?
I really don't, see or hear from Mr. Anchondo much, or about anything on my case.
So how long has she been in custody? 80 days? Oh, let's see. I mean, Mr. Anchondo, you've been in communication. Ms. Rascon, I'm not really of the opinion that, you know, you just get to pick court-appointed attorneys. Mr. Anchondo, you want to enlighten me? Tell me why you need to withdraw?
We had come into contact with Ms. Rascon. This had been set for trial previously.
Mhm.
Ms. Rascon had not shown up. So we were moved on. And then recently, I guess, earlier this year, she was picked up
Mhm.
and actually had not been aware that she had been picked up until we were set for a hearing. Then I spoke to Ms. Rascon about, you know, the case, what the recommendation was that we had gotten from Ms. Rago, the last hearing. And Ms. Rascon had told me that she wanted to ask for a bond. I told her that we would be filing a bond, but the likelihood, because of the situation, I gave her all the elements of what's been going on, that, you know, these are the things that you were going to take into consideration. At that point, you know, Ms. Rago or Ms. Rascon took the news, and then she called back and said that she no longer wanted to have us as an attorney. So I asked her to write a letter to that effect, and she did so. And so I think, Judge, really at this point, it may lead to a breakdown in communication between us. I know she's not. We don't see eye to eye necessarily on how to proceed in this case, and so that may be
Okay.
a conflict.
Okay. And so I'm not sure. Let me see. Yeah, because she was MIA. What's the rec on this one, Ms. King?
Your Honor, from what I see from the notes from ADA Rago of March 29th is 7 years TDC on this cause number, and I believe the other one that's in possession that's
So-
coming in.
I think what it was is that she was going to do 7 on this on the older one and dismiss the new one. And then if we wanted to dismiss, I'm sorry, I think I'm wrong on that. I believe it was 10 if she wanted to dismiss
Yes.
one of them, and 7 for both.
Yes, I think I actually remember that was just a couple of weeks ago. I think that we
Yeah.
had that. I recall the same. Yeah. So she does less if she takes both hits, and then 10 if she does. Okay. So there you go, Ms. Rascon. Your attorney had previously conferred with the state. There's another prosecutor handling your case. I mean, are you still with the position that you're gonna want a different attorney?
If it's not possible, it's okay. I can, it's okay. I don't need another attorney, it's not possible.
I'm gonna leave the motion outstanding, Mr. Anchondo. We have a jury trial set in September. If you feel that what your concerns are today do kind of come to fruition and there is a breakdown, then I will revisit the motion to withdraw. For now, we have 2801s in May. You know, we have a status conference in June, and our trial setting is in September. So I can tell you, I mean, I'm not kind of forecasting anything, but Ms. Rascon, if the issue was concerns about having a bond hearing, you know your situation. You have to know that whatever your attorney is going to present in terms of getting you a bond that you could get out on is going to really have to weigh against the period of time that you were MIA. So with that said, I'm going to leave you on, Mr. Anchondo, but again, if you find that in here in the quick future that it's not workable, absolutely re-urge your motion.
Very good, Chair. We'll go ahead and I'll go out to
Okay,
look at the case and discuss it with Ms. Rascon.
okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Rascon. Who's next?
May I be excused?
Absolutely, thank you.
We got Sanchez, Philemon. I believe we have parties for that. Both parties.
Okay. Is that Mr. Sanchez? Yeah, it's Mr. Sanchez. Let's go.
In cause number 2020-0D02041, State of Texas versus Philemon Mitchell Sanchez. Announcement of council, please.
Oh, again, for the state of Texas.
Are we confused, Mr. Avalar? I think it's still Mr. Wyatt.
Okay, then Daniel Avalar for the defendant, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Sanchez is appearing. I know, Mr. Perez, you have a motion to sub.
Yes, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Avalar, did your office receive that motion to substitute counsel?
We did, we signed off on it and tendered it over to Mr. Perez, Your Honor.
So the court does not have a signed order, an order that was signed by Mr. Wyatt, so.
We
It
thought
also-
that we had given that a while back.
It also did not have a date for which on the certificate of service, which is why I wanted to make sure Mr.
Okay.
Wyatt was here. Because, okay, so we're set for a hearing. It's a final hearing plea deadline, technically. I may have added the motion to substitute. Mr. Avalar, I don't know how much you have worked on this. I believe Mr. Wyatt had been here previously. I'm not understanding, Mr. Perez, how it is you want to come back in when you withdrew back in July, right? July of 2021, because the relationship between you and Mr. Sanchez had deteriorated to the point that counsel cannot effectively or ethically represent his client.
That had to do with payment of fees, Your Honor, and we resolved our difference.
Well, my problem is this is just delay after delay, Mr. Sanchez. You have had the public defender, Mr. Perez, Mr. Dacotes, Mr. Wyatt, and now you're back to Mr. Perez. So are you ready for trial this Friday, Mr. Perez?
I thought it was set for trial in July is what I saw off of the portal, or I mean off of the county website.
It's set for Friday.
I don't know that I would be ready this Friday, Your Honor, but I will be ready in May or June.
What is outstanding at this point? Mr. Avalar, my understanding was from Mr. Wyatt that Mr. Sanchez was ready to plea. What's the record?
So, Your Honors, this has been and I think the court does remember this, it's been a long road with this defendant. As of right now, the only rec I'm willing to offer is 25 TDC or to proceed to jury trial. Initially, when Mr. Wyatt was on the case, I did send the plea paperwork and it was very last minute until the plea hearing of 6 TDC,
Mhm.
that he decided to appoint his older attorney and change the reg. So at this point, and the state is ready for trial on Friday, and I will oppose any continuance.
And Judge, if I may, are we on the record?
Yes, we are.
So Judge, I had at least one telephone conference with Mr. Sanchez. I thought I had visited him, but I don't see that reflected in my notes, Judge. But in any event, I know Mr. Wyatt has also had some discussions with Mr. Sanchez.
Mhm.
Those discussions entitled the very difficult sought after the recommendation at that time, Judge.
Mhm. Mhm.
We thought we had an agreement. I had the paperwork. I was ready to go. And it turns out that Mr. Sanchez had worked out his differences with Mr. Perez. Your Honor.
Yeah, it's very much my feeling that Mr. Sanchez just wants to continue to play games to delay this trial. We had him here back in December with a motion to suppress because he was contesting issues with the case. He didn't bother to show up to court. And lo and behold, I had to haul him in just so we could make sure he could appear for hearing. So Mr. Perez, I'm telling you this, if you want in, this trial is going on Friday. You had an outstanding motion to suppress. Mr. Dakota's had an outstanding motion to suppress. I think Mr. Wyatt also filed some pleadings on Mr. Sanchez's behalf. The court will accommodate hearings this week prior to trial. I have jury lined up for Friday and it's going. My understanding is that 6 TDC is gone. You can raise your hand all you want. You're not going to talk, Mr. Sanchez. Ms. King, the rec is now 25 TDC.
That is correct.
So, Mr. Perez, your call. I assume when you filed your motion to suppress, you knew the issues. This case hasn't changed since you were on it in 2021.
Well, it's changed significantly when I'm being told that the rec is 25 TDC. That's
Mhm.
not the rec that he's not my client at this point, but that's not what he was understanding. He was, I guess, confused as to what was being offered. And it appears now that he is being hammered with a 25 TDC, perhaps because he's hiring a lawyer. If there is a rec of 6, I mean, that's something that I could speak to him because I'm hearing that now for the first time with respect to what's going on with this case. And I don't want this gentleman to be punished because he's confused or because he's exercising his right to bring in an attorney. And so I'm asking the court to consider those matters. If there is a offer or was one for 6 TDC, perhaps if I go talk to him as well, so he understands. I mean, but there's a big difference between 6 TDC and 25.
So obviously,
May I
the
interrupt?
rec, that's up to the state, what they want to offer. This is what I am saying. The case has not changed since you were second in line in a long line of attorneys. I am happy to conduct that motion to suppress this week prior to jury selection on Friday. Whatever the rec is going to be up to the state. If they pull their rec, whatever they do. But what I'm telling you, Mr. Perez, is that if I let you in, you are going this Friday.
Judge, may I interject?
Absolutely.
So Judge, I can assure the court that on our end,
Mhm,
there was no confusion as to the recommendation. As a matter of fact, Your Honor,
mhm,
when we were on the case,
mhm.
Ms.
But you're
King's.
still on the case, Mr. Avalar.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am. So at that point, when we had jumped on, Ms. King's recommendation had actually gone up after Mr. Dakota's. After the back and forth, after the discussion of the issues, the begging, kicking, and screaming with Ms. King, she very reluctantly and much against her own wisdom, she agreed to offer Mr. Sanchez a 6. We then said, it's not going to get better than 6.
Mhm.
As far as that's the information we had.
Right.
Your Honor, this is Renee Flores.
Mhm.
Your Honor, I had a at-length discussion with Mr. DeCotes prior to him leaving this case. And we went over the plea agreement at length. Ms. King was there. We sat here and we spoke to him, and Mr. DeCotes told us, and I have no reason to doubt the veracity of his statement, went out and spoke to the defendant. He supplied him with the very generous plea agreement that was also related to Mr. Avalar and Mr. Wyatt. This has not changed, Your Honor.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going on Friday. I will schedule the motion to suppress and any other outstanding motions for 1:30 p.m. on the 21st here in person in the courtroom. So Mr. Marufo, please make arrangements to have Mr. Sanchez transported from the jail on Thursday. I need to know, Mr. Avalar, are you all in agreement with the motion to substitute?
We are, Your Honor. I was going to ask if Mr. Perez's motion is granted.
And I was going to say, Your Honor, you're setting me up for ineffective assistance. I can't jump in a case on that short a notice for trial setting.
Mr. Perez, you were on the case for almost how long? A year? Let's see, you withdrew somewhere around July of 2021. You're only 6 months. Well, no, it's not 6 months. We're not a year. We're about 10 months away from when you withdrew. Nothing has changed.
Well, there's things that have changed, Your Honor. My understanding is that there was a co-defendant, and when I was on the case, I was being told that either defendant could accept the drugs as being theirs, and if they did, the case would be dismissed. My understanding is that the co-defendant who was originally with him was arrested on new charges for drugs and is probably a fugitive right now. So there is a potential witness that I would need to go and find and perhaps even try to subpoena her to bring her into court with respect to the drugs in question.
What I'm telling you is if you want in on this case, it is going this Friday.
And I will have to return money because I cannot get in a case that is set for trial on that short a trigger when I know that there is a witness out there who potentially can exonerate him.
Well, then we have our answer. The motion to substitute is not granted. Mr. Avalar, your office is still on this case.
I've been talking about you, man.
And we're set for trial this Friday. So what I need to know, Mr. Avalar, is are you all going to be urging your motion to suppress? Or do you need hearings on any other motions prior to Friday?
I may need a hearing on a suppression, Your Honor.
Okay, that will be Thursday at 1:30.
Man, that's crazy, man.
I'm not even.
I'm not sure. I was trying to look as to what, I'm assuming you're talking about Virginia Velasquez, Mr. Perez. I do not see rearrest. Miss King,
Right.
do you see anything on Virginia Velasquez, any new cases?
No, Your Honor, I do not. And they were both they were both co-defendants. So
Right.
she, at the same time as Mr. Sanchez had his case.
Right. Yeah, I only show the arrest back in May of 2020 for this case, right?
Your Honor, we're not showing you charges on the co-defendant.
Yeah. So I don't know if Mr. Perez was referring to someone else, but in terms of this particular co-defendant, there's no rearrest. Unless it's not in this system, I don't know. Mr. Sanchez, if you're wanting, I don't know who you're wanting to speak with.
With you, Your Honor, if it's possible, please.
What?
Ma'am, I'm not trying to play no games. This is my life we're talking about here, and I feel like nobody's really looked into my case.
No, here's the problem, Mr. Sanchez. Everybody has looked into your case. Everybody. You have had 5 attorneys. Well, I'm not going to count Mr. Perez, but he was in the line there too. You've had just about every defense attorney that I could think of to assign, and you just don't want to face the music. That's what it is.
And I'm not trying to disrespect your courtroom or nothing
Oh,
like.
that's all you've done. Every time you've had to show up, you don't show up. You're stringing along attorneys. I mean, I don't want to hear it. We will see you here in person at 1:30, ready to go on any motions, which I know there's been more than one motion to suppress, probably for every attorney. They've filed one. So make sure you square away, Ms. King, your witnesses, because they all will be needing to appear in person.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Avalar, I don't know if you or Mr. Wyatt will be handling it, but to the extent you need to coordinate or talk with Ms. King, but we'll be good to go. We don't have anything scheduled Thursday afternoon, so we've got all afternoon to work through these issues.
Ma'am,
All righty, I appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Next,
Mr. Perez. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Honor, like, I'm asking you, please, like, this is my life. We talk.
Okay, I don't know who muted you, but
But he's asking what? I'm not sure what his question is. I'm not sure what his question is.
we will see you. It's probably good that he's muted. We will see you at 1:30 on Thursday. Mr. Avalar, just keep us updated if something goes awry, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Who's next?
Staying on page 8, Judge Santana. Annex, can we have Santana, Saul?
Yes, just a minute, I'll be.
Go ahead.
In cause number 2016-0D0-0317, State of Texas versus Saul Santana. Announcement of counsel, please.
Roa Kane for the state of Texas.
And Luis Janis on behalf of the defendant, we're ready. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Mr. Santana is appearing remotely from the jail annex. That for a status conference today, I guess this, I have a notation, this was a reset from April 5th. But I do remember this is one where Mr. Yanez, have you had better working relationship since the motion to withdraw?
Your Honor, since the motion to withdraw, Mr. Santana said he was going to hire an attorney, and we were back here. He hadn't hired an attorney, and I haven't received the substitution as of today. So I believe that's why this status was set up, Judge.
Right. Mr. Santana, if you're not going to hire, then we need to go forward with Mr. Yanez, and I need to set you up. I mean, what do we have in terms of a recommendation? Ms. King, have you looked at this?
She had made an offer of 2 TDC, Judge.
Oh,
That is correct.
TDC. All right, then for my purposes, we're going to set from 2 weeks from 2 weeks from today, a pre-revo, 2 weeks after that, revo hearing. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, Mr. Yanez. Can you tell me, let me see. Motion to withdraw. I thought you had asked last time that you needed more time, but I think we've spent a little bit of time. You tell me, maybe I'm jumping the gun here with these dates. Do you need more time than that?
I just need to bring in the custodial records for a phone company. I can do it that way, Judge.
Okay, what time do you need? How much time do you need? Is this 4-week turnaround too quick?
If we can have 6 weeks, Judge, just to make sure.
Okay, so we'll do that pre-revo in 30 days, and then 2 weeks after that, we'll schedule the revo. So just the pre-revo, Myrna, in 30 days.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Thank you for your assistance. Thank you, Mr. Santana.
Will you be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. Who's next?
Staying on page 8, Cigales, Andre.
Go ahead.
In cause number 2021-0D0-1702 and 2020-0D0-0784 and 2020-0D0-00 and 2019-0D0-1599, State of Texas versus Andre Cigales. Announcement of counsel, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Leonard Morales on behalf of Mr. Cigales. Judge, I received the plea papers from Ms. King this morning. And I obviously haven't had a chance to go out to the annex to talk to Mr. Cigales about it. So if the court would indulge me a week or two, maybe a week, sooner rather than later would be better, Judge, because I anticipate we'll be able to resolve this.
Right, we'll do 1 week, reset 1 week. Ms. Reyes, I don't know if you had anything to add. I'm gonna think no.
No, Judge, I just wanted to add in that I was requesting, because I did say that I wanted the weekly reporting and the status hearing after 90 days.
Okay, all right, if you'll remind me at the plea hearing, or at least maybe if it's, I don't know if it's already been included on the plea papers, just let me know. But we'll do 1 week, Mr. Morales. I know this one's kind of long time coming, so we'll reset everything for 1 week.
Right, and I don't want to delay it any further, Judge, so I'll be out to see him, if not this afternoon, then in the morning.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I'll be out there soon, Andrea.
Let's get Vieira now that we have Mr. Morales here.
May I be excused, Judge?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Reyes.
Thank you, Judge.
Was there another one you needed me for, Judge?
Mr. Vieira?
Oh, Vieira, I got it, yes. Yeah.
Deep breath, Mr. Morales, deep breath.
Let's see. Yeah.
Mr. Morales, are you in the Wells Fargo building?
I am, Judge.
Did you see all that commotion yesterday?
Judge, I don't have nothing to do with that. I don't have anything to do with that. I was not involved. I was not down there, nothing.
All right, Mr. Vieira, let's get started.
In cause number 2020-0D0-2069, State of Texas versus Anthony Paul Vera. Announcement of counsel, please.
Raul King for the state of Texas.
Your Honor, Leonard Morales, on behalf of Mr. Vieira. Let's see.
So I believe when we were here last, I feel like, I don't know if now I think you were always traveling abroad, but I think you were going to come back to the court with all this redeeming information regarding Mr. Vieira and how not to throw his life away with TDC time.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, I'm at 2 years TDC.
I understand, Judge. If that's where we are, Judge, I'm going to talk it over with Mr. Vieira.
Okay.
And see what he wants to do.
Okay, we'll come back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, if we went to SafeP or BHRTCs, that's essentially the same thing. So I'll talk to him about all that, Judge. If Ms. King can get me some plea papers and such, then we'll have something to talk about.
Sure. So we'll do a 2 week reset, same time, 3 p.m. If we're all on the same page, anticipate that will be a plea.
Right.
All
I'll
right.
be able to see you real soon, Anthony. Hold on.
Thank you. Who's next? Thank you, Mr. Vieira. I think that's all you have, Lenny.
Very good, Judge.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, thanks.
Watch
Bye-bye.
out for those. Watch out for those bank robbers.
Yeah, I know. They're around here somewhere.
All right.
Thanks,
Back
Judge.
to page 7,
Same.
Judge.
Okay. Who?
Ortega Andrew.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Hi, Mr. Quinata. Is that Mr. Ortega?
That's
Ready?
correct.
Okay, let's go.
In cause number 2019-0D03894, State of Texas versus Andrew Ortega. Announcement of counsel, please.
Raul King for the state of Texas.
Eric Quinata on behalf of Attorney Jonathan Huerta, representing Mr. Andrew Ortega. Your Honor, at this point, if we could go ahead and set it for a plea, I'd like to say that we are at the crux of negotiations, and I believe we got the minimum, and we could set it for a plea and get Ms. Ortega going. We'd be obliged.
Is that it? 2 TDC?
Yes, Your Honor, and I did send the plea paperwork over.
Okay, I'm giving you 1 week, Mr. Quinata.
Your Honor, if I may very quickly, can I get a minute breakout room with Mr. Ortega? Is that possible, Judge? I don't want to impose on the court, but we would greatly appreciate that, Judge.
Okay, I'll take a quick break so we can put him in a breakout room.